Now, I think all of you would agree that the shank is a disastrous golf shot. It can ruin rounds, it can lose balls, it can make the wheels come off. So what we want to look at is understand, first of all, what is a shank. So we can see there, as I've sprayed the club face, my ball has hit the heel of the club, sort of shot across. It's actually hit the club face again on its way through, as my club's on its way through impact. But ultimately, hitting this part of the club is no good when we're trying to hit the center there. So I want to take you through 4 ways or 4 reasons why I see so many golfers shank the golf ball and how they can then start to look to fix it. Because I think when you are shanking the golf ball, yes, there are a lot of sort of ways, and I would seek the advice of a PGA professional to fix it, but we can just do something with a little bit of hand-eye coordination and the right focus to be able to create that fix. So guys, if you are enjoying the golf lessons on the channel, please do like and subscribe and turn the bell on to get notifications when future videos come out. And then in the description below, there is a link of how you can come and see me down here at Trafford Golf Centre at the Academy, or you can drop me a message and I can give you some golf lessons on Skillest. I've got an online academy where I'm helping people all over the world, in America, in Dubai, in the UK, improve their game remotely from the comfort of our own homes. So back to this golf lesson then, and what we want to understand first of all is, why is my golf ball going at the right hand side of the golf course? Why am I getting that strike? Why am I feeling the tingles in my fingers because I'm not striking it well? And ultimately, I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is they don't diagnose the problem. They don't know what the problem is. And we've seen that golf ball shoot off to the right at some pace. It's gone probably 90 yards in the wrong direction when I should be hitting it 170 yards in the right direction. So when we start to look at strike, what most people assume is when the ball shoots off to the right, they think it's hitting on the toe side of the club here. I will ask people all the time, why do you think that golf shot's just happened when they've shanked it? And most of them will tell me it's coming off the toe of the club. So if you think about that, if you think you're hitting it off the toe of the club, you're going to keep trying to move the club further away from you to strike the center, and you're actually going to make things worse because you're already over on the heel and it's only going to keep moving that way. So you've got to be very careful, very diligent on the diagnosis. So mistake number 1 is the wrong diagnosis. So I want you to get some club face spray. I want you to understand where you're hitting from the club face, and then we can start to fix it. Now, mistake number 2, again, I see this all of the time, and it's in setup, and it can be fixed so easily. If you had a keen eye when I was hitting that first golf shot, you'd have noticed that I was setting up slightly on the heel of the golf club. So as I come into address here, I'm going to set up just there. Now, from this kind of angled direction, I'm looking this way. That may look like it's centered to a lot of golfers, but in reality, as you look down the line, you can see that is very close to the heel of the club. So what I want you to fix and what I want you to think about is trying to set up more in the center of the club. That might mean you need to shuffle back a little bit, which is fine. Don't just tuck the club underneath you. Get your setup the same, but make sure you are addressing the middle of the club face, and you've got much more chance of then striking middle of the club face, and straight away there we have a much better strike, slightly heel side, but not on the hosel there. Now, that's the mistake in setup, really. So we say, well, if you're setting up on the heel, you've got a much bigger chance of hitting the heel, so get yourself center of the club. And then what we want to talk about now is club face and club path. I just want to split them into 2 separate things. So we're going to go through club path first, and this is one of the main reasons where I see people shanking the golf ball. So when they set up, what they will start to do is have a very aggressive club path, either from in to out or from out to in. So club path is at impact, which direction is the club traveling. So this movement I'm making now would be from out to in. So anyone who, you probably heard the term coming over the top, that's coming over the top, hitting the heel, and then we're going to hit that shank. And an in to out is a movement where we come from inside the ball to outside the ball as well. Now, we're never going to swing completely neutral, but when those numbers, when those angles get big, so we're swinging 10 degrees into out or 10 degrees out to in, we are exposing the heel of the golf club. So what we've got to check is that you're not the person who swings over the top. We see that club get outside as that club's coming down to impact. It is now exposing the heel of the club, and that is probably the most popular one I see. And then in a fix, in an attempt to cure that shot, the other one I see, the other very aggressive club path from in to out, is when people drop it so far on the inside, almost push their hips forward, And then now they're throwing the heel of the club towards the golf ball, and we start to see again that club be slightly open with a club face, but also the heel of the club getting thrown at the golf ball away from us. So you think you're fixing the shank from one way and you end up creating a shank the other. And then finally, we're going to talk about club face, because this is really the only other way I see a shank happening. So we've got setting up on the heel as number one. We've got a club path heavily from out to in or heavily from in to out as number two. And number three is an extreme open club face. And this now comes down to awareness of where this is looking. And if you look down the line now, what we see is if I create a really open club face, even if my club path is good and I'm coming down on swing plane, now the hosel is again exposed coming into impact. So I'm coming in with that club face wide open. And I think the biggest trouble with this is it feels like a top. So again, we go back to that question I asked my students. I will say to them, where do you feel like you're hitting this ball from? Where do you feel like the strike location is? And they will say somewhere across the bottom. They'll feel like the top in it. And in reality, it is across the bottom, but it's because the club face is looking like this. So you're coming in with that hosel first, and that's going to create that shank again. So you may be someone who needs to look at club face control coming into impact with a more square face. Your swing path might be all sound, but your club face isn't. So finally now what we're going to do is we're just going to go into one simple drill that regardless of which one of those mistakes you are making, this is going to help you fix them all. So the biggest tool we have to improve anything is our eyes and our feel. And again, when I will ask people in lessons, where did you see the club come down? Where did you feel the club come down? I don't think there's a lot of awareness. There's probably not a lot of investigation going on from the player on the mat. And we just need a little bit of guidance, so we can use some training aids, we can use some visuals that are really going to help us out. So as you now look down the line, what you see is I've got an alignment stick, and you can just see a green chalk line that I've drawn there. And that's just pretty much really the width of the club face, okay, slightly wider than the club head. But what we need to now understand is, what does our golf club do? And I will again challenge anybody who is shanking the ball. I will say to them, just set up with your club in between these two tram lines, and what I want you to try and do is make a swing and your club to come straight through those tram lines. Now first of all, just understand that the club shouldn't travel straight back and forward. It's on an arc shape, so more like this line on the edge of the mat. So it's only going to be in this tram track for a very small amount of time. But what I'll challenge the shanker to do is to swing through this tram track. And what you will see all the time is a connection with the stick. So the minute you make contact with the stick, if we think about where that golf ball is going to be, the minute that club's coming down somewhere near that stick, we can see the golf ball now hitting that hosel. So really then, it's amazing the type of adjustments the players will start to make just by thinking and using their eyes and getting the audio from hitting the stick. And we want to start seeing them swing more down that tram line, and over time you'll see people changing the setup a little bit. They might start to stand further away from the ball or closer to the ball, and that is all just that sort of experimentation phase that we should do when practicing. But I think golfers kind of struggle to do. They just repeat the same movement, hoping something's going to get better, as opposed to putting some guides in place to help us. Now, again, understand that if you are the person swinging heavily from in to out, you're going to hit that stick and nudge it out this way. If you're the person who's swinging heavily from out to in, you're going to get that stick on the way down. And the only sort of caveat to this is, if you're the person who has the perfect swing plane but with a really open club face, you're going to start to come into impact. You'll probably swing through the tram lines and the ball will still shank, but then you know that it is club face control, and you can go and address that. You can go and change that. So once we've done this a few times, and we are now looking to set up with the ball right in between those tram lines, I'm just going to create a little bit of a practice swing. We're then going to try and not make contact with chalk or stick. Perfect. Now straight away there, that strike felt very solid. I've hit a nice shot. It's gone full distance, 170 yards that's landed with my 7-iron. And again, we're just going to try and repeat. I'd suggest a couple of practice swings, just feeling your way through that tram line, just making sure you know where it is, and then concentrating on striking the middle of the face. That was even better. That was even better than the last one. Perfect. So even just for myself there, who haven't got the shanks at the minute, thankfully, I am not walking around the golf course shanking the golf ball. It has happened in the past when I've caught a case of the shanks. But just focusing on trying to swing through that tram line there has really given me a sense of feeling like I'm hitting the centre of the club, a sense of focus, and rather than me just standing here hitting balls out into a field with no aim and no challenge to try and fix my problem. So guys, if you've enjoyed that lesson and you think that's going to help you stop shanking the ball, give it a try down the range, a little bit of chalk in your bag, a little bit of an alignment stick down there. Everybody should have alignment sticks anyway. And if you do like these lessons, please do just look at the links below. Give me a message, like and subscribe to the channel, and I will be back every week with more golf lessons for you. I will see you in the next lesson.